What's up, guys? Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to
Yes.
I Just Want to Know. I'm your host, Alan K., accompanied by your other host, Karmel Humphreys,
Word. What's up?
and accompanied by our other co-host, Ryan Kickbeats Lucero. What's going on over there, Ryan?
Kick beats.
It beats. Today, we have an amazing guest with us today. He is a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, a businessman, and the founder of higherpower.net.
Yes.
Gary Higher, how you doing today, brother?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic.
Yes,
How you guys doing?
Good, brother.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you are the actual owner of this studio, which
I am.
we cannot appreciate any more for you giving
Super
us this
dope.
opportunity.
Yes.
Man, it's been great having you guys here. You know, it's been fun.
Well,
So
thank
I'm
you.
glad you're enjoying it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep. So and then you guys, so you and Karmel grew up together. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, childhood friends.
Right.
Like growing up, same letter in the last name. So all the earthquake drills and emergency drills, we were always next to each other. So Carmel and I have been tight
That's
for years.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
we played a little football together on the field.
Yes.
So yeah, man.
Yeah. Warm
It's
Bears,
been,
bro.
Been a long journey together, and we're still doing it.
Yeah.
Nice. So you guys grew up childhood friends, still maintain contact throughout the years. That
Here
is
and there,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it. I'm just like in the middle of this brotherhood right now. I mean,
What's funny because like after high school, you always like you disconnect a little bit from everybody, but like through Facebook or whatever social media, you kind of just keep track of people. And I've always noticed Gary was doing things that I like to do or doing stuff that I'm thinking about. I'm like, man, Gary's into that. Oh, Gary's doing that. Gary's doing that. So it's just funny, 'cause, like, you see someone that you grew up with and then like you kind of disconnect a little bit, but then you realize you still kind of have this connection, even though you're not around them all the time. So then just reconnecting with Gary was like, it just been like no time missed. It's like, I've of course missed like his whole family and his life growing up and all that and getting married, but like the stuff he's doing, like it's stuff that I'm doing or stuff I want to be involved with. So it's like, it's a kindred spirit, even though we haven't been like next to each other 24/7.
gotcha.
It's like putting on an old pair of slippers, man. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
they always fit. They always feel good, and that's been our relationship forever, man. Ever since
Yeah.
just running into each other in men's leagues, men's basketball leagues back in Brea.
That's right. I
years
forgot
back.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just it's always good to make good friends. And I'll tell you right now, man, that Downey blood runs thick. I don't know
Yes, sir.
what's in that water out there, but man, we stay connected. And even if it's been a long period of time, it seems to pick up right where we left
Yep.
off. So
Good.
yeah, man.
So thinking about basketball, you played D1 basketball, correct?
It wasn't D1. I played D2 NCAA and got a full ride out to Hawaii Pacific University. Lived out on the island, and so yeah, they were Division II NC2A. And then I came back to the States and played at Biola University, which is a Division I NAIA school at the time. Now they've went up to the NCAA ranks as of the last 2 years and are NCAA Division II now there as well.
Okay.
I had an interesting journey into college. I had 4 knee surgeries right out of high school. I don't know if you knew this, Carmel, but during my senior year, I developed the disease in between my freshman and sophomore year. I forget the name of it. It's about this long. It doesn't matter. It blew my knee up. My meniscus pads that are all supposed to be really microscopic would grow to be the size of a golf ball and about as hard as a golf ball, and they'd lock my knee up. So I would have to go in and have surgery and clean those out. I had to have that 4 times in just a couple of years. And right out of high school, I went over to Mount Sac and had my knee lock up at practice.
Oh, wow.
And ended up having an emergency surgery. That doctor actually clipped the main vein and sewed me up, sent me home, and I was bleeding internally for a week. I went anemic. It was crazy, dude. I had a horrible situation with that happen. And then so I had a massively long recovery time, and they put me as a red shirt. And I just kind of got out of it. I wasn't into it. I started working to make a little bit of money, and I just got out of basketball for a while.
Okay.
So I took 2 years off and then started playing street ball again and was dominating the hoops out there. So that was fun and got my legs underneath me, but I was partying and not really leading my life right. And then my soon to be 10 years later, this girl walked into my life that was still at Warren High School. She was a friend of my sister's, and her and I started dating, and the rest is history. So I figured, as I was dating her, I was like, I need to get my stuff together. So I went back to Mount Sac and played 2 years there. did pretty well, and then that's when I got my scholarships to go over to Hawaii Pacific and then to Biola.
Man, that's crazy though. To go through that much, physical labor and everything like that, physical, injuries, and still get a scholarship. That's pretty amazing, man. That's not bad.
Yeah, it was. I've been blessed with some pretty good talents, and I've been blessed with some good people around me and good coaches, mentors that taught me good work ethic. And one of those coaches was my freshman year, or my college coach at Mount Sac, Clark Maloney. And I mean, he was like a drill sergeant during preseason, but it was unconditional love the way he led us. And he worked us tirelessly. He broke us. We started out, it's funny, every season you start out with like 20 or 30 guys that were ambitious to play on the team. And coach never had to cut one to get to our 12-man roster, I'll tell you that.
Wow.
That's how you
because they just chased themselves off because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that translated into many areas of my life. Sports relates into everything.
Right.
I really believe that. And so it's been quite a journey.
Right. So after D1 basketball, were you trying to like go to the NBA, or did you know you're just going to go try to pursue?
I had hopes, man. I mean, I had a pretty good jump shot, and I was pretty athletic. I had hopes, and there was some talks of possibilities starting overseas or something like that. Like I played against a bunch of NBA players through those years, and the Say No Classic by Nike. I played in that a couple of summers. Played against the Collins twins, a couple other big name Jason Hartz. I mean, these are the '90s stars that were getting recruited into to go to the NBA.
Right.
But I played against those guys. I played with Tony Gonzalez actually.
Oh wow.
Out of high school in a summer league team. Man, that guy's basketball athletic ability he could have been an NBA player for sure too. Probably a Hall of Fame NBA
we're talking
player.
about the tight end, Tony Gonzalez.
The Hall of Fame tight end, Tony Gonzalez.
Was that good at basketball? I mean, I saw him play like on TV, but never up close or like.
So we faced him at Warren in the CIF playoffs when we had that great team, and they're the ones that took us out after we I think it was them, yeah. But they were tough, man.
What high school did he go to?
He went to Huntington Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And then out of our senior year, there was this all-star summer jam at Long Beach City College, and lo and behold, he and I ended up on the same team with a bunch of other guys. But I'll tell you right now, dude, I saw that guy take this guy to the hole, and 3 other guys collapsed on him, and he jumped from just inside like the free throw line, 2-footed, and took all 4 dudes to the rim and hammered it. I've never seen anything like it, man. I'm telling you, the guy was he's an incredible specimen, obviously.
You got a lot, you got a lot of those like basketball, like started like tight ends, right? Like Antonio Gates was playing basketball.
Jimmy
Graham, right. And all of a sudden just you take that type of NBA athleticism, put him into a football athletic body, and it's just like absolutely unstoppable. I saw Tony Gonzalez play at the Data Summer Pro Leagues back in the day at the Long Beach Pyramids. And and I remember it was like, Tony, this cool NFL guy, and all of a sudden he was balling, and it was just like, it's
crazy because there's like a lot of athletes like that where the sport that they're like known for is their second love.
Right.
Like Allen Iverson was a football star before he was a basketball player. He loved football, and like if you just like highlights of him like killing fools on the football field. And he's like, yeah, I wanted to play football. He just happened to have a killer crossover and can just, and dunk on fools. And then like that, he was not too small to play football, but like his ability worked better in a basketball arena. But then there's actually video of him dribbling a football, which is stupid.
That is stupid.
Like crossing over
and probably handling it really well.
Well, right. So it's just like that type of athlete is just ridiculous that the one they're a Hall of Famer in is their second best sport. It's like stupid.
Yeah. I mean, my first love was baseball. You probably know that. I was a baseball player, and I actually had some pro scouts looking at me in high school. But for whatever reason, I got burned out on baseball. I played that my entire life. I only picked up basketball really my sophomore year in high school when I grew. That disease came from the fact that I grew almost a foot over my freshman to summer year. That summer was just like this crazy growth spurt. And it just threw my body out of whack. But my first love was baseball. And
yeah, because I remember you as a baseball player in high school. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But the fast action and the close quarters of basketball and the athletic ability to play above the rim a little bit at that time, I was like, man, okay, this is exciting. This is where I want to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything what it's like to play above the rim at all. But I mean, I could try to show you a crossover, show you how to do a proper layup here and there. You know what I mean? That's what I got.
Okay.
Right foot, left hand. That's what I got.
Okay. That's what we need.
All right. I know, right?
Yeah, it takes a team.
There's only so many Avery Johnsons you can exemplify as a kid. Everybody wants to be Jordan, wants to be Sean Kemp. Right. I just wanted to be John Stockton. Want to be Avery Johnson. I know my limits, damn it. All right, so Gary, you were thinking about doing the pro basketball thing, and then you said you already met your wife at this point. You knew you had to kind of grow up. So what kind of career venture did you end up start going into?
Yeah, so out of college, I went into sales, and I had a 20-year career in sales. I started in printers and copiers, that type of thing. I went into pharmaceutical sales for a generic company. I sold pain management type drugs to hospitals. Traveled the Midwest for a couple of years, and then I got into the construction business and sold pipe valves and fittings, and went through a couple of different things, and so I got real familiar in the sales process, being able to talk to people, put presentations together, got involved with the little marketing side of things, and just got my feet wet in all of the different business acumens, right? And through all that, I also became somewhat of an aspiring entrepreneur. About 10 years ago, about 9 years ago now, my daughter came home from preschool and decided she didn't want her fruits and vegetables. So my wife thought real quick and gamified a process of making a little fox on my wife's finger and a bunny on my daughter's finger, and made up a story about how the fox was going to get the broccoli before the bunny. So it worked, and we're like, okay, that's cool. Let's try and think about this. So we came up with a concept called Make Eating Fun. It's up there behind Karmel right there. It's a placemat in a book that you put in front of children, and the parent or the teacher will read this story to children and gamify the process of needing the children to clear obstacles or find treasures, whatever the story leads them through.
Nice.
So we started developing that. And in 2017, I decided to let go of my career and go all in with my Making It Fun business. We brought in an investor. So it was time to really jump in and go all in as an entrepreneur, which was a scary leap.
Sure.
And but throughout the last 2 years now, we've gotten into more schools. We're finding that in the school sector, it's really, really beneficial. Getting a group of kids around each other and using some positive influence is getting them to break some barriers with their nutrition habits. So that's really cool. But yeah, that's kind of been my career. And then things got kind of sideswiped a month after I went all in with my business.
Right.
With a cancer diagnosis. Right. That derailed me. Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So like you go from shifting your whole career and life choice into this entrepreneurial business about eating healthy, and you get hit with a diagnosis like cancer. Like how did that feel? Like what was your thought process at that point?
To say it was eye-opening was an understatement, but it was devastation at first. I mean, no matter where you're at in life and you get struck with a cancer diagnosis. Now that cancer diagnosis was stage 4 colorectal cancer. There's no more stages after that, and colorectal cancer is the second most deadly disease on the planet.
Oh wow!
So it was not a very fun bite to chew on for a while and digest, but realizing that this was my reality, I was more concerned about, how I was going to navigate through life and figure things out and make a business while I fought this disease, because I had no idea what that was going to look like. And we could touch on that a little bit. But I found out real quick, Karmel, that I found out my disease was not genetic. So it had everything to do with my environment. I was that sales guy for 20 years that knew every single fast food joint that I liked on every single sales route. And I planned my day accordingly to make sure that I had the tacos that I wanted or whatever that was. I was eating very unhealthy, and I was drinking consistently every single night, drinking at least a bottle of wine, just, not taking care of myself. And at the time too, I developed a smoking habit. I was smoking cigarettes for 15 years, up to a pack a day.
Wow.
And so I was really living a very unhealthy life, and in no way, shape or form ready to lead a business around health and wellness.
Wow.
So
wow.
So
that was just the little tip of the iceberg of the eye-opening experience that this brought to me.
That's crazy. So
it's crazy you bring that up as to being like you're a smoker, drinker, fast food person, because I feel like today's day and age, that's the common person. So although we might describe those habits as being bad, that's common. It's as common as it gets.
Yeah.
So it's crazy for you to just be practicing. It's not like you're going out doing mad raging drugs. You're not doing whatever. You're doing everything that's consistently, technically supposed to be legal and as a norm, but you feel like it's led to you and getting your diagnosis with that disease.
Yeah.
Right. And then here you are, big entrepreneur doing all that. That's got to be like one hell of a eye-opening experience. Like you keep on saying, that's just amazing.
It was crazy, man. And I always talk about the onion and peeling the layers of an onion, and every layer exposes more stuff. And, touching on that, cancer was not, the physical form of cancer was not the only diagnosis. When I started peeling the onion on myself and realizing some of the things, I realized that there was so much figurative forms of cancer in my life that were controlling the person that I thought I was. But it was limiting me from being the person that I was meant to be. And so that looked like many different forms of again, addictions leading to the lack of performance the next day, being able to really give my best to my employers or whatever the situation was, my own business for that matter.
Wow.
Because I was either working off a hangover or just not in a good, healthy state of mind because of the fuel I was putting in my body.
Yeah.
And through this journey, I no longer look at food and drink as food and drink or food times as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I look at everything as fuel, and whatever I'm putting into my body or in my mind is fuel for my benefit and all those around me.
Right. So, and obviously, like, that's probably one of the biggest things that I noticed about you. And after this diagnosis, I was like, okay, like, let's see how Gary, works it. And you were just like so adamant about, I'm going to beat this. And the way you were going about it is something that I've been trying to, in my own life, present to people that I know and love about using food and drink as fuel. And we've been saying this as long as we've been alive, you are what you eat. We've heard that for years. You are what you eat. But people don't really understand that you literally are what you ingest, period. Whether it's visual, whether it's, audio, whether it's food. And like the way you went about that and the way how you attacked cancer was so inspiring to me. And I was like, it almost validated things I was doing in my own life. Yeah. And to see how you were attacking this disease like just a madman on your own. Like, I'm gonna do this my way and I'm gonna beat it my way. And then you are. So it's interesting to hear you talk about what you were coming from. And cause I didn't know that's how you were living your life previously, with the fast food and drinking and all that. But then it's like, there are other cancers and ways that we create cancer in our body. Because you said it wasn't genetic. That's another thing. I think people, and I don't want to say this for everyone who has cancer or had cancer, there's a way to give it to yourself. If
there
I
is.
can say that,
And so, I feel like I did.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you can say that.
We can talk Karmel, don't hold anything back.
I'm just saying. I don't,
I know. Here's the thing. I just wrote an article about some certain things. And one of the topics within this article was how people want to say the right things. And especially with a guy sitting across from me like myself and, just be open. And most of I'm in a very good position to where you could say anything and I'm either going to laugh it off or chuckle along with you or just I'll go in stride. So yeah, man, it was a big eye opener about that. And I'm thankful that I found that path, and I found it through getting advice from a dietitian, registered dietitian from a hospital that was completely opposite of what I was trying to do. It was a lot of animal-based products, which I wasn't plant-based at the time during this, but I knew that I needed to eat less of it. And it was a lot of carbs, a lot of that stuff. And I just knew that wasn't the route I was going. Because again, I was trying to lose weight and get healthier while I'm through this, because I knew that if I just stick with Western medicine and the chemo and the radiation and the surgeries and all the other 25 prescriptions that they had me taking at the time, I was headed towards death. There's no way that your body can sustain all those drugs. No. And then not trying to do something on the other side to boost your immune system or supplement the different things that you could use naturally for your body. Fortunately, I stuck with my game plan and I continued on a quest to get better at that all the time. Right. And I'm at a point now that I've got a very, very good regimen and I'm on fire. I'm on chemo right now. Boy.
Right. That's crazy. You just did chemo. It started 2 days ago, or
I was in the hospital all day yesterday.
Getting
chemo.
Man, that is
chemo
amazing.
From a pump there. So. And then they send me home. I'm strapped up. I call it my concealed carry.
Look at this.
Oh my God! Look at that.
So you know, on camera.
That's
I ain't
crazy.
Playing.
Wow.
It's pumping all the time. So
that's nuts.
That whole process that happens every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks I've been doing that for the last I'd say 15 out of 18 months.
Right. So what exactly?
15 out of 22 months.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
What is? I mean, for me, right? We always hear about chemo. We always hear about cancer. What exactly is chemo, and what exactly is it doing to your body right now? If you
so chemo is a general attack on your body. Some chemos, I guess, can be targeted, but the process that has happened for me and what I know of chemo is that, I get it injected through my veins. It's a liquid drug. It's a poison, and it goes through my veins and attacks every cell in your body, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's meant to take down cancer, but it tears down a lot of other things, and that's where you get your side effects. Gotcha. I don't know all about all the chemos. I leave that to my doctors. I'm not a doctor. I'm a warrior, and I got to stick to my game plan. I got to worry about the things that I need to worry about. And if I'm trying to learn more about their drugs, I'm not learning about my pharmacy, which is the plants and the things that I'm doing. And because I think that remedy that I'm doing on the side outside of Western medicine is going to keep me alive a lot longer than what Western medicine can do.
Wow. And see, that's right. Cause that's a hard thing to get people to understand, is because people are so indoctrinated with the hospital, with medicine, with doctors, Kaiser, Blue Cross, whatever. We're just so used to hearing what they're saying and taking it as gospel. But your approach is like, well, I'm going to do both. I'm going to take what my doctor is saying, I'm going to run with it, and then I'm going to do my own thing and use both. And like, at the very least, I would people at least do that. Like, do both. Like, if you don't like the way something's making you feel, say something, try something different, use this, and like, I'm not telling people to stop going to the doctor or stop taking any drugs or medicine that their doctor is prescribing, but ask a couple questions, do a little research, say, hey, I see you prescribing me this one. Here's another alternative drug that may not give me those side effects that this one is giving me. And then maybe you also do something on your own. So you're kind of using your body as almost like a canvas to test everything and figure out, okay, this works, this doesn't work. And then you act accordingly.
100%. So I'll give you a little example of what that looks like. So I'm so in tune with my body. So part of the Western medicine treatment that I've had is a couple surgeries. One of them was a major one. You guys saw the bag hanging off my gut. They gutted me from the front and the back, and they took out my rectum and my colon. They took out my gallbladder. They took out half my liver and 17 lymph nodes all around that area. And they completely cleaned me out. Wow. So that was my original surgery, and that was 10 and a half hours. And then I had another surgery. And so, through that process, I went, like, my whole core was numb. My whole, nether regions were numb. My unit didn't work for a minute long. It still doesn't work, but that's another story. But they got drugs for that. I'll take that.
They got to take that.
I'll take that. I'm learning all about that. It's been a couple of years. But anyway, another story. But being in tune with my body has been something that has been so next level, because now that my body's waking up, like, I feel everything. I can feel my poop traveling through my colon to get to where the stoma is at. It sometimes it's backed up. I can kind of like pop it like a pimple to get it out of there. It's like really weird, like the life that I've had to figure this stuff out. But learning what happens to our body with certain things that we put in it. Yesterday I was at the hospital, like I told you, and we had a waiting room full of people, and it was looking like it was going to be running behind. And my mom was going to get a Starbucks, so I had her get me a cold brew. I don't do a lot of coffee. I don't do a lot of caffeine. As you guys know, we'll touch on a little bit more, but I'm all in with the produce and the water. I drink 2 gallons of water a day. That's my thing. Right. So I'd say that much of my cold brew. And I was to the point where I was like, I was feeling it a little bit, and I was feeling a little more anxious and jittery. But then I went to get my vitals done, because I was heading into chemo a little bit early. And my vitals usually, my pulse rate's usually at about 50, which is low, but I've always been that way since I was a young boy. And it was at 86.
Wow.
So that's not out of the world. Like a resting rate is from about 50 to about 120 on the high end before they start like throwing flags. So it's not like I was out of the world.
But for you.
But for me, it was noticeable. And that was just on a little bit of caffeine, and I was wired. Wow. Second part of that is usually there's this pre-jug that I take called Ativan, and it helps with nausea, but it also knocks me out. So part of the process is I take that, and it's like usually within a couple minutes I'm out for about 2 hours. And then about that time I'm waking up and getting ready to go home. But this time, like, I couldn't sleep through the Ativan, the caffeine. Like, it tells you, to your point of like, yes, our bodies are so wired to what we put into it. And since I haven't done caffeine for so long, since I haven't done a lot of the sugary stuff or the carbs or the different things, like those things bog me down or speed up. Like the caffeine sped me up so fast. Right. Carbs will make me feel lethargic. Sugar, I crash real quick, and I feel like the sugar rush is a totally different thing than a natural rush of energy.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah.
So right now, your whole entire lifestyle, I know that you shifted everything. You're mentioning your water is called Kangen water, right?
Kangen,
Kangen,
I call
right.
it Kangen.
Sorry,
as long as you're calling it something,
right?
I mean, not a lot of people have heard of it.
Right. So so I kind of want to touch into that because you started switching your diet around completely, right? You said you used to be at 280 pounds before everything started happening, and now you're currently at 215. 215. So your diet changed. You notice a lot of things about this. Like I said, you're a big advocate about the Kangen water, and I saw your YouTube channel on it, and it was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Can you elaborate as to like why that water is? Because that's a lot of knowledge I didn't even know about basic drinking water and everything.
Yeah, I could definitely. I'll touch on a little bit of that. I'll tell you a short story about why it works so well and how I figured out that this water is so next level. So when I first got diagnosed, I put it out there on Facebook, and some people started rallying around me. And one of those was a young man that actually went to school with us a couple years behind us. His name is Albert Snell. Anyway, he reached out and he's like, Garrett, listen, man, I'm connected with this guy that has got this super alkaline water. Like, it's really good. I'm going to bring you 5 gallons every 5 days because this water dies out after 5 days, and I want to keep it fresh for you, but I want to do this for you because I believe in it that much. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I was just figuring out alkaline water, you know, hey, my life's on the line. I got to change some things up. I'm figuring out about alkaline water. I'm hearing all this stuff. I'm seeing the Essentia and the Smart Water commercials on TV. So that's what I got to do. So I was like, cool, thank you. I started drinking that water. Went into chemo for 4 months or so. And, you know, chemo, it takes a toll on you. But I was feeling pretty good. I was showing up to work every day. You probably watched a lot of the videos where I was walking around with my iPhone on me. I mean, I was going through chemo with my pump on me for 4 or 5 months like this and not feeling any like lag of energy. And so I was like, cool, this is what a cancer battle looks like. I'm reacting pretty well. Well, that guy, Al, got busy with work and life or whatever it was. And I got busy, you know, and we just started disconnecting. So the water was coming less frequently. So I was buying those bottled waters at the stores that everybody's buying. And I don't need to go through the list of names, but I was buying those. Now, I was also finishing up my first cycle of chemo and going into radiation, which radiation is another story that we could touch on. But we'll talk about water for a minute. So during this time, for about 4 or 5 weeks, I was not getting that Kangen water now at all. I was drinking a lot of the same amount of water, same type of water, I thought, the alkaline water, but my energy levels were tanking. And now I was feeling like a cancer patient. And I was feeling, okay, like it's got to be the radiation. It's got to be that the chemo onsets more. I knew that the more chemo you do, it compounds. It doesn't just go away when I take the pump off on Sunday. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
This is part of me, like, for a long time. So it compounds. And I was like, well, this is where I'm going to go. And I just came home tired. So then another buddy of mine, about that month later, walks into my office with jugs of Kangen water and his new business partner, because he just got into the Kangen water business, to share it with me because he saw that I had been fighting cancer. They came in and gave me that water, did a little doggy pony show and left. And I drank that water. Within 24 hours, I had every bit of my energy back.
Wow.
Like I never lost a step. And so I bought the machine that night. And it's an investment. It's a machine that I have for my home. It's made by a company called IJWK. They're out of Japan. They've been around for about 47 years now. Some of the original machines are still on the marketplace. Wow. It's patented technology. It doesn't filter out every single harsh metal or chemical that there is on the planet, because no machine is perfect. But it's one of the best. And then we also can set up anybody that's interested with pre-filters. So I have a pre-filter in front of that, because some of this Yorba Linda water has some bad stuff that slips through it. Right. So I knock that down first. It goes through my Kangen water. And what happens is, any water that we do, whether it's tap water, traditional filtered water, reverse osmosis, which is like Culligan and all that stuff that you can get for your home, or bottled water, let's consider that dead water. And what happens with the dead water and anything that's dying, like it inflames and all this stuff. So the molecules and this is the way I'm thinking of it, the molecules, they cluster together, and these things are made up of about 25 to 32 molecules per cluster in traditional water. This Kangen water comes out of my machine at about 6 to 9. clusters. So it's about a tenth, less than a third of the size. So if you look at it, it's like giving me a bucket of golf balls and giving each one of you guys a bucket of baseballs, and we'll stand in front of a chain link fence and see how many balls we get through. I'm going to get them through. You're not.
Right.
Well, that's what's happening with traditional water. Those traditional clusters of 25 to 32 molecules are about the size of our cells. So those clusters are crashing against our cells, not getting behind them and flushing them out, which was, inflammation and all that stuff is living. Right. So this water has been reversing that. It actually reverses damage. Also, part of this water is that it's loaded with antioxidants. So drinking one glass, 12-ounce glass of this water is like eating two of those little plastic bushels of blueberries that you buy for $5 at the store. So one of my glasses of water is like eating two of those.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm drinking 2 gallons a day.
Jeez. Wow. So you got your diet, you got your water that's helping you through this. Now, I imagine when you first got diagnosed with cancer, going through chemo, radiation, you were giving the regular, like we were talking about earlier, the regular hospital meds that they were giving you out, right? Can you kind of explain to us about that? Because I know you got a really good story about how, from where you started with that to how you're handling everything now.
100%, bro. So like I said, when they first diagnosed me, they load up a lot of pills for the side effects of the side effects of the side effects, right? Like that's just what happens ultimately with any medications, really. Look at every advertisement for every type of pill that they're pushing for you for Viagra or whatever it is. There's side effects to everything. So the first experience of that was my first weekend of chemo. Came home, had all my pills lined up with all the instructions of take this, take that, do this, right? Within 24 hours, I was backed up.
Oh, man.
Within 24 hours from that, I was in such excruciating pain. My wife was holding me and I was crying like a little baby. And I was so backed up. I was sitting on the toilet trying like laxatives, going at it like crazy, could not break through.
Wow.
And I was like, this cannot be my reality. This is just the beginning.
Wow.
And so I called a good buddy of mine on my way, the next week actually, on the way home from the hospital that day. See, I had to go all the way out to Duarte in this pain to get my pump off. And then so I came home, and on my way home, my wife called. She says, you got to find another answer to these different drugs because this is going to be bad, right? And I was like, I know. So I used to smoke herb back in the day, recreationally, like a lot of people have. And I called a guy that I knew that I used to pick up from back in the day. He lived across the street from me, but we had also stayed in contact through the years because of his business and my business. We kind of just always stayed in contact. And I called him up and he's like, Gary, I'd love to help you. And he's been in the cannabis business for 25 years. He's been growing organically and understanding the plant, traveling the world. He's one of the biggest in the Europe area. Spain is namely, and he's growing out there, and we're just starting out here in the States. But I went to him and the first thing he said was, Gary, you need to treat this plant like a vegetable. And it peeled my eyes back a little bit because then he started explaining what that meant. And he said that he had dealt with a few people that had advanced disease like I had. And he started telling them to take the leaves and take the buds off the plant and eat them and juice them and put them in your salads and use it that way. And that is because there's a couple properties within that plant, THCA and CBDA, that we lose when we heat up and we process for whether it be oils or whatever. It's a very, very good medicinal benefit. What happens with those properties is it helps the cannabinoids wrap around cancer cells, knock it down and stop it in its tracks. So, and then CBD goes in there and helps too. So there's a lot of accolades around CBD.
Right.
I know you guys are proponents of that and pushing that out there and trying to get a lot of good information out there. And it comes down to what information can you trust?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I was very fortunate to know the man that I know, and he taught me everything about it. He taught me how these cannabinoids interact with our bodies. Did you guys know that there's over 100 different cannabinoids in cannabis?
Yeah. It's funny because, again, right on the time you started talking about CBD, I had got a gig to write for a medical marijuana doctor in San Diego.
Okay.
And I explained to them, I don't know much about marijuana or CBD, but I can write. And so they saw some of my blogs, some of my writing, and they're like, yeah, okay, let's give it a shot. So I just did some research. And then right about that time, you started talking about CBD. And we actually met one day, and you showed me the whole line of things you're working with. I'm like, there's no coincidences. It's just like, okay, this timing's perfect. And I learned so much about cannabinoids and CBD and how our body reacts to all this stuff and what actually is in marijuana or hemp or whatever that is helpful to us.
Right.
And then, so what I started writing towards was getting away from the stigma. It's like, why are we looking at CBD and then connecting it to, a movie like Half Baked? Like, it's not, that's all we think about is Dazed and Confused, and then, dudes getting all, high and stoned.
Yeah.
Versus this is a plant, and anything we take, we can make it used for anything, right?
Yeah.
But this plant is actually has been around for centuries and it's been used medicinally. So that I've just learned a lot about it recently. So this the timing for us to talk about this is perfect.
Right. I think right now I think it was. I grew up. I know we all grew up kind of in the same generation, but we're like everything pertaining with that is just wrong, evil, nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And I know Karmel harped on this on the very first show where we're talking about, because we grew up with it being illegal, it then was considered to be morally wrong. So I remember, now a lot of my friends that went to the CBD industry that were potheads back in the day are now like rich as shit because they started their own CBD companies, and they're like, well, bitch, look at us now. Like, oh shit, maybe you're right this entire time. But I think because of that negative stigma that we had growing up, the public in general is not really aware of what CBD is. They still think it's just THC and it's just weed. But you're saying, and I just found this out because I just started, researching this on my own, CBD is just it was one of 100 cannabinoids, right? That one of those cannabinoids being THC as well, but you can isolate CBD and it is its own thing. But I don't feel like a lot of people know that because they know what CBD is in general if you spell it with capital letters, and it has something to do with weed, but they don't know exactly what it is. Yeah.
So we'll touch on that for a second, but I wanted to talk about for a second why we were conditioned the way that we were. You look back in the history of our country, and it goes way back further because cannabis is a plant. It came from God, so it's been here since the beginning of time. But a lot of our presidents, our forefathers, our founding fathers and stuff like that, like they were treating some diseases and different ailments with cannabis. There's a lot of things that was going on up until when our parents were probably growing up. And they were young kids when all that propaganda was going around with you see the videos of, roller skate rinks, everybody being happy. Then you got the little druggies in the corner smoking the reefers is what they called it. And that marijuana that gets you high, and it's the gateway drug. And so they demonized it. Yeah. What was happening, like but they made hemp legal because hemp is a strand of cannabis. Cannabis is the grandfather, the original, the OG, and then they've bred this plant to be able to do things to create rugs and shirts and whatever so we could trade and all that. And hemp is what has stayed legal for certain purposes. Now they're using that platform to keep the safe word and keep it safe for people that were misinformed for so many years, that it's all about getting high and it's dangerous and all that stuff. Yeah, the plant will get you high if you're going for that. And there's THC, and THC does that. But what people don't understand is that THC is the carrying agent for CBD to get the maximum medicinal benefit from this plant. So if you're robbing your body of THC, then you're robbing your body of the maximum benefit that you could get. So a lot of the accolades that are out in the marketplace of pain and inflammation relief, the anxiety relief, you see all the kids that they're putting the oils and stuff underneath their feet to stop their seizures. You're seeing all that stuff. Yeah. Yes, it's working. But those people are using THC as well. And if we can get it to a 1-to-1 ratio, which all of the products that I represent are fully from cannabis, and they are full spectrum, meaning that they do have THC in them. It's a CBD product, full spectrum, meaning we don't take any of the cannabinoids out. But we use plants that are within a certain THC content, and then they do whatever they do to it. But it's all organic, and the content of the THC is 0.3% or less in these products. Okay, so it's literally trace amounts. It will not show up on any drug test if you're using our stuff. I can't speak for any other full spectrum product out there, but it won't show up on any drug test. It won't make you high, but it'll make you feel good. And it's a supplement to our endocannabinoid system. And within that system, we have receptors, and our body already creates cannabinoids, okay? So our body's receptors for this endocannabinoid system takes the cannabinoids that our body already makes and puts them to work, which it fuels our body's ability to boost our immune system, to help with our neurological system, to help our body's ability to eliminate inflammation and stuff like that. And so it puts it to work within that system. Now, if you look at cannabis, just like you look at as vitamin C, as far as like a supplement, like a CBD oil or a cream or something like that. If you look at it like a vitamin C, everybody should be using it. So I have full spectrum products that have some THC in it. My daughter uses those products. She does not get high, but it's a wellness product. Sure. I don't give it to her every day because her body's not there yet. Yeah. But people like us, we really need to have a good CBD oil in our diet underneath our tongue once or twice a day, every single day. And it's not like you're going to have this massive benefit that you're going to be like, oh my God, my world has changed. But do it for a month and then go without it. And you'd be like, wait a second. I realized that was going a little easier in my life. And it's because it was taking an edge off, like subconsciously, like people that are driving high in anxiety, the way that they notice the benefit is like, oh wait, that used to get at me a little bit. I didn't have that. And so they it's just the little subtleties of life. And then over time, what it does is get you results. Like I've been doing this stuff for 2 years.
Wow.
My body's so in tune with this, with this plant and the nutrition and the water. And I've found the perfect storm.
So Ryan, what's your experience with CBD and,
you touched on something that was pretty interesting, man, because it's right now it's the THC and CBD battle.
Right.
THC has had this negative stigma, and now CBD's come in, and it's sort of like the good weed.
Right.
Yeah.
Gets you high,
yeah.
Right.
Especially in the religious community, they've kind of embraced it like that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And now that there's so much information out there, you were saying, what information can you trust? But there's so much of it out there now. As opposed to how it was like even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
But CBD, in my experience, I have a friend in Orange County. She actually she's a licensed massage therapist, and she does fire cupping and all that kind of stuff. And she uses THC oil and CBD oil
together.
Okay.
And it's like, man, you talk about like feeling your body healing itself.
Right.
Wow.
It's no joke, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. And topically is great, but that oil going in your body sublingually, that needs to be the staple. And then you go topically, because people say, well, I got muscle aches, so I'll just get a muscle gel and I'll be good. And it's like, yeah, the muscle gel will work for you. It'll feel really good. It'll feel better than icy hot. It'll do all that. But where you're going to get the benefit to heal your body is internally. You have to attack internally, and I think you know the same thing.
Well, it's like, I've tried CBD oils. I've done, I've done CBD dabs. There's, the Charlotte's Web strain, which is like one of the strain that produces the highest ratio CBD to THC. And it pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Any specific reason you took it? Was like for
It was, well, for me at the time, it was I was kind of dealing with depression. And that was kind of like a way to I wouldn't say alleviate it, but it would curb it.
Okay.
Because obviously depression is something you gotta work on. So
For sure.
But yeah, and so adding that extra THC to your diet, or that extra CBD to your diet, because the THC that is smoked and inhaled, like if we're smoking flower or dabs or whatever, just for the recreational part of it, or however we use it that way, we're not getting enough CBD content. So you boosting that CBD content, mixing with that THC is why you got that benefit, because again, that carrying agent. When people hear the story of, I got this CBD in my life and it helped me with my depression, or I got this CBD in my life and it helped me with this, then people are thinking, okay, then I'm going to go get this CBD over here at Whole Foods that's, hemp derived or whatever it may be, but it's CBD isolate, no THC. And people are using that as marketing for the people that aren't privy to this, and they're scared and they're used to the stigmas. Back to the stigma.
Right.
I don't want to get high. I'm scared. And so what it's doing is then I get on a phone call with somebody, because I educate a lot of people all over the country in the cancer community and beyond. And what it's doing is it's creating a barrier because they're thinking that they don't need to have THC. And as soon as they hear that I have a product that has a little bit of THC in it, they run a little bit. Unless they're really open and they're like, okay, I believe you. I see the results and I see that. But people are still, even though they're seeing the results in my life, or they're hearing testimonies like yourself, and they're still afraid. And it's because of the way we've been led. Again, let's go back to the nutrition thing. We talked about the fact that, I was the guy just like everybody else. Fast foods, having some drinks, having some smokes, party on the weekend, living the lifestyle. We're adults. We're all figured it out.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, we're being taught all these things. We have these in our mindsets because that's how we were raised. That's how our parents were raised. This is the propaganda that was being given to us by all the Wheaties athletes and the different McDonald's athletes that we saw growing up that were telling us Big Macs are healthy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So how can we blame anything when all we could do is just say, okay, that makes sense. Now it's time to change and start really paying attention to what I put in my body and my mind.
And it's funny because we're looking at, like, there's tons of all over-the-counter medicines that have alcohol in it. Like NyQuil has a good amount of alcohol. There's products that have a good amount of THC, but it's like, why is NyQuil okay? Why is some of the stuff that's, cough syrup that have alcohol is okay? Because now we're conditioned to think, oh, that's fine, because someone tells us it's okay. We see tons of commercials. It's
like vitamins.
Right.
It's like, it's in order for you to be able to, your body to metabolize magnesium needs calcium in order to do that. You say it's the same thing with CBD and THC. They work as a symphony.
Yeah.
All 100 of them, all 100, 150, whatever it is. You don't take any of them away.
Yeah.
Because, dude, we're just tipping the iceberg. I mean, now some of them are talking about CBGs, CBNs. I don't know if you've heard those yet. CBNs. So there's some amazing benefits in those cannabinoids. And some growers and geneticists are playing with those and pulling them out. My partner being one of them, to see exactly how that kind of, so. And then we're talking about, okay, so now that's 3 or 4 that we know about. Dude, and so what I've noticed, and then now, using it like a vegetable, so I juice this stuff daily, fresh leaves from my guys, and it's just changed everything because we're getting the pure nutrients, the pure cannabinoids.
And that's another thing I've always kind of wondered about, because like when you're burning it, when you smoke it, so I'm like, wouldn't it be better just to eat it? And I was naive and ignorant about. But I'm thinking, if it's a plant, why not just eat it? So it's interesting to hear that you straight juice it.
And bro, for a guy like yourself that doesn't like to partake in mind-altering types of things, like you don't drink, you don't smoke. We've known this for forever. Good for you, by the way, in the world of temptation.
Right.
But juicing it, you don't get that. But you get all of the cannabinoids. And bro, load it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm developing a program right now that I hope takes hold here pretty quick, to where I'm going to be able to present a customer with a box at your doorstep, freeze packed and everything, with all the organic produce to juice properly, with the highest, the best quality organic cannabis leaves too. So we're working on ways to get these good products to the doorstep. Like I'm saying, nobody's shipping cannabis leaves. If you don't know a grower, you can't get it. So how do you juice it? You can't go to a dispensary and get it. They're not talking about this crap.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, if you go to a dispensary and start talking about CBD and what it does for their body, I mean, chances are it's like going to a 7-Eleven, right?
Right.
Some of them have great knowledge in there. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from all dispensaries, but again, it goes back to where you're getting the information and the sources of getting the good stuff, like the leaves. Like, how do you do it? So I'm hoping to bridge that gap and bring a product to the marketplace where you get it fresh.
All about that.
So what CBD products do you use on a daily basis? I know you said the leaves, you like juicing it. Are there any other type of things that you use as well? And is there any other type of things that you make?
This company here is Scorpion Genetics, Scorpion CBD. This is the oil that I've been using for the last 2 years.
Nice.
This is my partner's brand. He built this brand to go into the X Games world, the former athlete world. Just, he believes in that, and it's a fantastic product that I've been using all the time. So this oil goes underneath my tongue at least twice a day.
Oh, wow.
From this oil here, we've created my own line, which you guys can see right here. And this kind of takes you on an adventure with our line, because we've got a wake and a boost and a calm. So we added some supplements to the CBD oil to make it kind of a wellness line. So with our wake oil, we've got Garnacia cambogia extract, which is a fruit from India that has been getting a lot of accolades to lose weight and stuff like that. But what we're targeting the fruit for, and why we're using it, is because it also boosts your serotonin levels.
Nice.
It makes you happier. It provides some energy. It curbs a little bit of your appetite. There's not a lot in there, but there's just enough to give you a little bit of that boost in the morning. And then we have our boost formula that we infuse some vitamin B12 in there. So during midday, you get a little midday CBD boost with your CBD intake, plus you get a little vitamin B12.
Okay.
And then in the evening, we got calm, and that's we got that also added with some melatonin. And melatonin is a nice sleep aid that people are using all over the place. So we put a little bit in our oils, and it makes for a nice calm evening. So you could go on a little adventure with the new Higher Power line that we created through Scorpion CBD.
Nice.
So it's really cool. And then, what I've noticed is also we've got some topicals, and I don't talk about it much, but my feet are numb constantly. I've got neuropathy. I've had neuropathy for a year and a half now, and who knows when it'll ever go away. But it's always in my toes and to the balls of my feet. Like that's always numb. And then throughout the day, it just permeates all the way up into my knees.
Wow.
And it gets to the point where it's just, it's bad. That muscle gel helps a lot.
Sure.
It doesn't take it away. None of these things I don't want to ever say that CBD or cannabis or water or nutrition is curing me,
Right.
or any part of it, but it's helping me. And what I have found is that when you could feel good, no matter what you're going through, your mind could be good. You could be in a good place. You could smile a little bit more, and you could perform better.
Yeah.
I
feel like, because it's interesting you say about it not curing you, because I feel like our body cures itself. But what nutrition does, it puts your body in a state to do that. Like you get yourself in a place where your body can say, okay, now I don't have to deal with this, that, and the other thing. Now I can go to work.
100%.
I feel like we put so much stress and pressure on our body. Our body's just trying to figure out, okay, what the hell did you just eat? I don't know what to do with this, and put this over there. Oh, you're doing that at the same time. So much is going on in our body. When you finally shut it down, slow it down, and give it nutrients, like, oh, well, now I know what to do. So let me put this over there, fix that, and put that in its place. Our body cures itself. It's none of the stuff that we're eating. It's our body's now in a place to put those building blocks back and to heal things. So it's cool you say that, because I think a lot of people also feel like, oh, but it's curing me, it's doing that. Well, no one's really saying that. And honestly, the medicine you're taking from your doctor is not doing that either. It's masking, it's making you feel good for a second, but it's not giving your body a chance to actually heal. So when you actually give yourself a chance, that's what fasting does. Fasting also puts us in a state to heal ourselves.
100%.
So to reset, right? So I'm a big proponent of fasting. I try to fast like 4 times a year for a few days, because I think our body needs a time just to relax and chill, and then put itself to work.
I use intermittent fasting almost every day. So the first thing that hits my body is juice. I celery juice in the morning. I let that marinate for about 30 minutes, and I go into some other juice, and I don't even really eat foods, which is usually salads or something like that to start the day until afternoon.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes even later. It just depends. But I learned a lot about something that happens in our body depending on what we put into it, and that's called oxidation. That happens when you cut an avocado and you put it on the counter, it starts turning brown. That's oxidation, right? In life, anything that is alive starts oxidating and it dies. Our bodies are in a constant progression of oxidation. What we put into our body will either speed up or slow down that process. Okay, so if you're putting in more foods that are acidic in the way of like drinking soda, sports drinks, bottled waters are acidic, and then the foods that we drink, the fast foods, the processed foods, meats are one of the most horrible things that our body can do, because our bodies takes a long time to process them, then they just build more toxins within us. But what I learned, and I learned a lot of this in my journey with the water, is that the alkaline environment, like our bodies stay in a state of about 7.35 to 7.45 pH.
pH.
Okay. no matter how much acidic stuff we could put in there or how much alkaline stuff, unless we're really approaching death, does it get off that narrow margin. Okay, so a lot of people out there say that if you drink too much alkaline water, you're going to shock your body. It's BS. It's not true. You can overdrink. And there has been people that have died from water intoxication, believe it or not, because of all the contaminants that's in it and what I told you about the molecules not being able to absorb in our cells. So I'll ask you guys, have you ever noticed drinking a lot of water, working out or whatever, and you're pounding it and you get bloated? Yeah, that's because it's not absorbing into your cells. I haven't been bloated in 2 years.
It's funny because I wanted to mention this when we were talking about the water. I had an experience with Kangen water probably, again, right before you mentioned it. I was in a, what do you call it, like a business networking group in Downey, and one of the guys in there was a rep for Enagic. And he did a presentation about, this water, yada, yada, this and that. And I was like, I was working out a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm into that. That makes sense. Let me try. So he gave me 4 gallons of the water. And typically I wouldn't drink a lot of water at the gym because I would feel bloated. I don't like feeling, I'm going to feel like light on my feet. That water, I felt light. Like literally my lungs felt almost cold. Like I was like, what the hell's going on? Like I felt just this weird thing permeating my body. I asked him about it and he mentioned the molecules. They're smaller than than regular water molecules, so they're getting into your system like water's supposed to do. And then he had me tested on, this was the craziest thing, making tea and using the same tea bag twice, because he says that the water will go through and get more of the tea out that regular water wouldn't. I made 2 perfect cups of tea with 1 bag of tea using this water, and I was like, okay, so that's what's happening inside. So that was my experience with it. And I've not have anything else feel like that, drinking that water. Like it's so different. You would think as water's water. It's really not. It's very different.
Well,
yeah.
Have you guys ever had real mountain spring water?
No.
That's the best.
No.
It's the same.
Really?
Yeah, that's what this machine emulates, is that type of a situation. But how many people could go up to the mountains daily and get that water? Right.
So I guess
you're right, brother.
I guess water going
over
the rocks is similar to going
that's
to
where it gets the minerals. And through that process, it makes the water alive. It's called hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, and that's what this machine does, is it replicates that. And so like when you pour this water, it's full of bubbles that you can't even see through it, but that's hydrogen. And that's what makes it so powerful when you have the machine in your home, because then you're drinking it fresh every day. And then what's cool about the machine too is there's other settings to where you could emulsify oil with one of the settings, which means that I can finally get all the nasty pesticides and herbicides and chemicals off my produce. And being plant-based, it's very important. But if you're a meat eater, it's also got a setting that kills 99.9% of all bacteria, so you can get all the crap that's been building on those meats and get them off before you cook it. So there's a lot of different benefits to the machine, but alkalinity comes in more ways than that. Alkalinity comes through our diet. Like good produce, good vegetables is alkaline. Cannabis is alkaline. So if you're thinking about it, look at what I'm doing in my life. My nutrition is supremely alkaline. My water is the best alkaline water on the planet, alkalized water, because it's actually electric. And cannabis is alkaline. So I'm feeding my body with all this stuff. And what's happening is it's repairing my body faster than the chemo could tear it down, the good stuff.
That's
My
amazing.
chemo's killing the cancer. All this stuff's flushing out the bad toxins that hold people down, that it compounds. You guys, I've been through 15 months. I talk to cancer patients on the daily, mostly across the country, people reaching out to me, or I'm reaching out to people in the communities out there in social media. And the common denominator is that chemo is detrimental, and it holds people back, and it compounds. And then it's the other drugs that they have on top of that create more side effects. And these people get stuck and they don't know what to do. And all their answers are more drugs. Because what happens is our body gets used to those systems, those things, and then it just switches and goes to another. And those drugs are doing major, major damage to our body. So what I've actually been able to do, you guys, through the nutrition and the cannabis and the water, is not only have I eliminated all the drugs that they've been trying to give me to combat the ill feelings from chemo, I take 0 prescriptions.
Wow.
But I've also eliminated the cholesterol medications, the triglyceride medications that I was given because of my genetics.
Sure.
Wow.
Right.
I don't have to take those, and I haven't taken them in over a year.
Wow.
So, man, so you get diagnosed with cancer. You
Right.
learn everything about this amazing water, this diet, how CBD helps everything. And I know you've inspired a lot of people with your experience with it. And what's crazy is because I feel so much like positive vibe from you, and I just feel like energetic with life. But you just went through chemo yesterday all day. So like
Still on it, baby.
Right now.
still on it right now. I know it's nuts. So I guess with that being said, man, what's your perspective with cancer, and I guess and everything that it's kind of taught you? And I don't want to say it seems like it's been a positive experience because it's fucking cancer still. But like, I guess what's your outtake on everything, and what is it like kind of taught you?
So cancer takes you on the most amazing, most horrifying, most confusing roller coaster you could ever imagine. When I was first diagnosed, I can remember looking that night. So I got diagnosed originally coming out of my colonoscopy, waking my eyes up. My doctor says, you got a 10.5 centimeter tumor in your rectum. You have cancer, and we suggest you get CAT scans done right away. So we went and got CAT scans done, and I went to dinner because the CAT scans were going to take a few hours to get read, or a couple hours. And I'm at dinner with the family, my in-laws and brother-in-laws, and then my immediate family. My daughter's in the restaurant, and I get that call from the doctor, and I walked outside. And you can imagine the movies, you know, where you see the guy, like It's a Wonderful Life. You see him watching his family having fun or whatever. So they're all in there, and I get the call, and they say, you've got stage 4 colorectal cancer. You have them all over your lymph nodes. You have 7 tumors in your liver. You know, this is stage 4 disease, and we're not going to give you a timeline, but you know, it's going to be tough, but you could survive this disease. And that was the conversation that I had that night. And I just broke down crying, watching my family in there. Then a couple of them started coming out, and then I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have this positive outlook. I've always had a positive outlook, but what changed it is I had to get through the holidays. You know, it was 2 days before Christmas. So I wasn't going to tell my grandparents. I wasn't going to tell my daughter. I wasn't going to tell my nephews. My sister knew, my brother-in-laws knew, my wife, and then my parents and my in-laws, and that was it. And so going through the holidays, all that love and positivity, having to keep this smile on your face while you're about to start on this ugly war was very difficult. I sat my daughter down. She was the last one that I told before I decided to make it public. And that was one of the most difficult conversations I've ever had. And it was not yet the most vulnerable, but the most vulnerable I had been to her up to that point, because I've always been a guy to hold emotions back a little bit. But I was able to connect with her, and it was a very emotionally charged thing, and I didn't have any answers for her, but I promised her that I was gonna survive this disease no matter what it took. And so I just made a decision just to be better the next day than I was that day. And so every day I just woke up thankful to have an opportunity to do that. And I was in a search and a quest to find that. And it was real easy because I was 285 pounds, soaking wet in burger grease and wine. And I knew where I needed to start so I could make some massive changes quickly. And so I did. I quit cigarettes, a 20-year addiction to cigarettes, cold turkey. Man. I quit alcohol. Almost cold turkey. I did have a couple of drinks. It's led up to a hospital visit in April for alcohol poisoning after one beer.
Wow.
Because it interacted with my chemo.
Right. Okay.
And it threw me in a tailspin. Almost was really detrimental, but got to the hospital in time. But just started that quest, bro. And it was just one day after another, just one foot in front of another. And no, I don't know everything. But that's the beautiful thing, is that none of us do. And I came to a quick realization that I just need to be a little bit better and just keep exploring these things. And it's just been a culmination of a lot of good people coming around me, sharing their experiences, me doing my research, and paying attention to what I'm putting in my body and how that affects me. And now here I am. And I've got a pretty damn good formula, man, that's working really well in my life. And the cool thing is that it's working well for others too.
Nice.
And so I sit here now, and I started realizing this early on in my fight after a couple months and progressing and feeling pretty good through it, is that It took longer than couple months. I realized that the cancer diagnosis was the greatest blessing in my life.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It really was, because if it didn't happen, I'd be dead by now.
That's crazy.
If it wasn't for the fact that I didn't flush the toilet one night, I'd probably be dead right now too, because I didn't have any symptoms. Again, I'm just like you guys, man. 40 years old. I was just living life.
Oh, I'm not 40. I'm just,
okay. 30s, 40s, right? Like, we got it all under control, whatever. I thought maybe my itchy butt was a little hemorrhoid, so I just dealt with it, whatever.
Right.
There was nothing there. There was no pain. And so this was a huge surprise. And thankfully, I didn't flush the toilet one night after I urinated in the toilet, because I didn't want to wake up my wife. I went to work the next day. She happened to wake up and she didn't pee in the toilet yet after knowing that it was flushed.
Right.
Noticed that there was a little blood in there, a little pink tinge on the toilet paper. I'm colorblind. There's no way I could see that. So I went to the doctor that day. They found blood in my stool and my urine. Again, I'd been pooping for a long time. Hadn't been seeing any blood, because I'm colorblind, and she doesn't stick her head in the toilet every time I go.
Right.
But thankfully,
it happens to be that one time, right?
Because it changed my life.
Jeez.
And then we did all the other blood work, and the other blood work didn't even show heightened levels of my CA levels, which is usually your tumor markers for that disease down in that region. Like, it wasn't out of whack. They're like, this could be like, this maybe could be cancer, but we're thinking it could be these fissures or this or that or the other. And we were exploring all that while waiting for the long wait time to get a colonoscopy. But through all the tests that we did, it was a colonoscopy that found it.
Wow.
Yeah, but this is amazing, though. I mean, just hearing your story right now. I remember I heard it last week, right when we first met, and I was inspired by it. Just want to say, man, I love you for sharing your story, and I love you for doing what you're doing, which is not only getting your own perspective, but spreading that positivity and inspiring everybody else to not only get checked for cancer and also find alternative means to help themselves, but also inspire them to live a more positive lifestyle based on what you've learned, right? I don't think we need to go through diseases, like cancer. I'm like I said, I'm sorry going through it, but man, I just, like I said, I'm inspired. I'm drinking this water right next to you, and I know it's my regular tap water, getting insecure about it. I'm like, man, maybe it was easy to tell me.
Change that before you leave.
Right.
I'm sending you some Kangen water.
Well, absolutely.
Yes,
well,
sir.
no, and I definitely appreciate you sharing your story with this, especially especially with all the CBD benefits, and the fact that we are a media sponsor for the CBD convention in Vegas going on the 22nd and 23rd, which I would love for you to join, because I could only imagine meeting a whole bunch of Gary Hires over here, being inspired by their story, living in that, and also providing more media and more positive media about CBD, more actually awareness, and just, it doesn't have to be positive, but getting rid of that negative stigma that we already got.
100%.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So what's next for you, Gary? I mean, after all this, what's next?
Well, I'm going to continue to kick cancer's ass. That's for sure.
Damn right.
I've got another couple months, about a month and a half of chemo left ahead of me. It'll take me right up before Christmas this year.
All right.
But at that time, I should be able to shut it down, hopefully for good. But this is stage 4 disease, and I'm going to be real that it could come back. That it could be part of my reality. But what's for me is I'm going to continue leading this charge. So I started Higher Power. It started as a hashtag when I first, it was hashtag Higher Power. It's just something to put out there and get some support. It's pretty cool that my last name is Higher. I believe in Higher Power. Higher Power is God. And I think that at one avenue or another, I think we're all striving for his grace in one form and another, whether it's through being Catholic or Christian or Islam or whatever. God is love, and I think that he's provided many ways to get to him. And so I want to lead with that. I want to lead with that we're all in this together, and you don't have to be diagnosed to feel better. You don't have to be diagnosed with an evil disease to change your life. But you could take my story, and you could take an inspiration from that and do something with it. And so I've started many platforms to share a bunch of free information through social media. I started a podcast of my own called HPTV that I do right here in this studio, sharing messages of hope and inspiration to help people thrive through whatever they're going through in life. And that's been my mission, Karmel. I have been so blessed by putting out some little bits of love that I have, or the massive amount of love that I have. Like, you guys have been seeing it. I put a lot of love out there, and what has happened is it's come back to me by the thousands.
That's amazing.
And so my heart is so fulfilled at all times. So how can I not feel good?
Yeah.
And so I want to share that with everybody. I want to share my my attitude and my stuff with as many people as possible. So being on a platform like this, touching a network that I would have not have touched before is huge. And anything that I could do to help you guys move forward, like I just feel like I feel like I'm on the front end of leading a charge of awareness, transparency, and just giving some good hope that no matter what you're going through out there, if we could feel better on the inside, we can get more on the outside.
100%. 100%.
Amen.
Oh.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Gary. I think this wraps up our this episode on here.
Yeah.
Next episode, like I say, we'll be live on the at the CBD convention.
Yes.
Doing a live podcast with the people that actually are running that convention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about that. But thank you guys for joining us this Friday morning. I love you guys.
Appreciate you guys. Peace.